Okay, today is September 18th, 2017, and we're looking at the Caribbean rainbow loop. And this is Hurricane Marie, which has strengthened from a tropical storm, or rather just a Category 1 hurricane, to a Category 5 hurricane within about 48 hours, not even 2 days. We see that this storm here now is a Category 5 with 160 mile per hour winds. Moving right towards Puerto Rico, which is right where the tip of the pen is. And so I think it was back in 1928. That was the last time that Puerto Rico took a direct hit from a major Category 4 or 5 hurricane. I believe that was the numbers we heard on that. Anyhow, this storm is being allowed to run wide open. Meanwhile, up here, we have Hurricane Jose. We're going to take a look at that here real soon. Let's look at the Caribbean and the water vapor mode. And we can see the eye wall, very well defined eye wall, a lot of symmetry about this hurricane. Everything is pretty much wrapping around, except for out here we do have some clockwise rotation. And that indicates high pressure is being forced into this area right about here. But the center of the storm appears to be spinning counterclockwise. There is a blast pattern right out here on the north side. We can see that right there. So, I've been watching this storm all day. Actually, for the last few days, even though I didn't do a video, I've been keeping an eye on these storms out here on the Atlantic. And so this storm is taking a track to the sort of the west-northwest. Let's look at the hurricane map right now. And we can see Marie right here, Category 5, 160 mile per hour winds, central pressure of 924 millibar, moving west-northwest at 9 miles per hour. Let's look at the track and see what we get here for Hurricane Marie, which is forecast to run through the right over the top of Puerto Rico, and then maybe make a turn up to the north here and stay away from Florida. But it's going to skirt the Haiti and the Dominican Republic on the way, so we'll keep an eye on this storm. All right, next is the eastern U.S. water vapor loop, and this is Jose, which is barely hanging on to Category 1 status as a hurricane with 75 mile per hour winds. We can go back to that hurricane map here real quick and take a look at Jose right here. 75 mile per hour winds, central pressure of 975 millibar, moving north at 8 miles per hour. And the cone on this storm, well, it's changed. Amazingly, look at that. This was going to move a lot closer to the mainland, but it has a different forecast. It may turn out, we'll have to see what happens. It's going to turn to the east. That's the latest forecast. And we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back to the maps. What's interesting here is that it looks to me like right in this area, where that red right there, there is an area of high pressure right up against the center of rotation on this storm. And it looks like something is attempting to push the storm towards the United States. We see high pressure installed in this area, and that is an effort to prevent all of this moisture from wrapping back around into the center of the low pressure area, which is right here. So high pressure is installed in this area. That is, we can see the clockwise rotation right here adjacent to the low pressure. But also look at the imprint that transmitter is having right on the center of that storm, right there at the very beginning. If we stop the loop, looks like we've got a sort of a W there, a sideways W. It cuts in and then it skirts right along the eye wall. Well, not the eye wall, but rather the center of this hurricane. And that is, it looks like this whole operation right in here is pushing this storm. to the west. We see the storm rebuild. This is being hit with a microwave or a laser. We can see a tremendous blast pattern right along that western side. Look at that. Let's look at this in the IR map. We can see the disorganization of the storm. None of this moisture is wrapping back around because that transmitter right over here adjacent is right on top of that, the core, the center of that storm, which is causing one half of a hurricane to be visible. And then we have all this clockwise rotation out here from that installed area of high pressure right adjacent to the center of the low pressure right there. And it does seem that if we put the grid on, the storm is moving north, but with high pressure on this side, that could push the storm slightly to the west, which would run it right along the east coast. So we'll have to keep an eye on what's happening. Also, we have a new moon. We've got a new moon coming up on Wednesday, officially on Wednesday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to see the usual high tides associated with new moons and full moons. So this whole operation here is coinciding with the new moon cycle. And so if this runs right into any of these areas along the east coast, right at the new moon, we could see some flooding. All right, now here is the mid-Atlantic water vapor loop. We can see the high pressure right down here at the beginning of that loop right here, which is right up against the center of rotation right there, that imprint right there. And that appears to be pushing this storm, if not to the north, then maybe a little bit to the northwest, which would run it right into the east coast. You see that blast pattern here. Look at this. That is very good evidence of a superheating event right there. That icicle pattern. Okay. Notice the disorganization, the chaotic, turbulent rotation going on in the center of that storm as it's targeted. That's what's causing this blast pattern here. All right, that's the west coast. We'll hang on to that. Yeah, here is the floater map, the rainbow floater map. We can once again see what's happening here in the center. This is being targeted right off on the east side. And we can see where all that high pressure is being forced right into the center of that storm right there. We've got rotation here, but we also have high pressure because we've got clockwise rotation out over here on these bands. Looking at the visible light map, we can see all that chaotic, turbulent activity there in the center. And looking at the telecast, we can see the precipitation offshore. The pan and zoom map is not working right tonight. It just freezes up, so we can't take a close-up look right now to see if those ground-based NEXRADs are breaking up the rain pattern. It's possible that they are. We ought to take a look at that tonight and see what's actually happening here on the east coast with those those ground-based Doppler radars, which look like golf balls, giant golf balls on top of 6- and 7-story towers. All right, next let's go to the east coast, or rather the west coast here. You see the jet stream diving down. We have a low pressure up here, which is moving slightly to the southeast. We may see some chemtrail activity here in Southern California, certainly in Central California and Northern California as this threat of rain moves through the area. We can see that the water vapor here moving right through California. We've got a huge area of high pressure right here. We can see the clockwise rotation. This is an installed high. This will raise the temperature of the upper 3 feet of water in the ocean if this is held in place long enough. And of course, that changes the evaporation rate of the ocean water, which changes all sorts of dynamics going on. We can talk about that in a separate video. Here's another low pressure right up here, a giant, it looks like a storm. This high pressure has been installed to force this low up and over this ridge, which we can see that's starting to happen here. That'll move up and over and out to the east. We got 2 storms down here. Let's take another look at the western U.S. water vapor loop. And this is what we're talking about. This flow right here, this frontal system, move down. LA is right about here, so we're probably going to see some chemtrails in the skies tomorrow waking up. But we have these hurricanes which are forecast. This thing's moving north. This is, I think that's Norma. We'll have to take a look at the other hurricane map here. Let's take a look at that. Whoops, wrong one. Let's see, right here. So we've got Norma, which is moving west-northwest at 7. This has been squashed out. It's producing 40-mile-per-hour winds. Otis was a hurricane earlier today. This storm is also being squashed out. This is moving west at 5 miles per hour. If you go to the big map, we can see what is happening. Both of these storms, they were forecasting Otis to move down to the southwest, but how can that happen? Everything is got high pressure in this area. Also, we have a partial, there's an upper level low here, which is being squashed out. But this is not going to move out to the west. Everything is moving in this direction here, and then it's looping back towards the west coast. We can see the tail here pattern. So they're killing this off, and I think that Norma, look at the blast pattern right there on Norma. Take a quick look at that right down here. We can see that. Both of these storms are being killed off. Here's the IR map. And we can see those moisture bands moving down. We may see some chemtrails tomorrow. Certainly in central and northern California, they're getting the chemtrails. Here we see that there's not much rain except for near the border. So certainly 100% chance that we're seeing heavy spraying in central and northern California without any doubt. I'd be willing to bet $1,000 on that, or 5,000. All right. So let's continue on here. We've got the East Pacific water vapor loop. We can see the 2 storms are both being targeted. This one here, we can see the blast pattern, giant blast pattern there. And Otis out here. This was a hurricane that's being squashed. You really see that blast pattern here on Norma, as that storm is superheated with microwave. Okay, so that is the report. We'll just leave it right here. This is Jose right off the East Coast. We're going to keep an eye on this because of those high tides coming up. Tomorrow's Tuesday. The new moon is officially on Wednesday. Okay, that's it. We'll do another update later on.